Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 142 of the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies podcast. We are brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business on or offline. It's website design, Google ads, graphic design, local service ads, printing. We can help with just about anything that you need. Check us out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or our website, bbdigitalmarketing.com. You can request a free review of your online presence today right there on the homepage. My name is Milton Campus. I'm a black belt training out of South Florida. We got Christian behind the camera. Woo! Don't forget to like, comment, download, share, do all those things. Click subscribe. We'd appreciate the support. Joining us today, we have a fellow podcaster, Vince Pacleb, joining us. He'll be on in a few minutes. A few quick shout outs. Thank you to our friends over at Flow and Roll. Got my new Flow and Roll shirt on. Woohoo! That one, I like this one. First time I'm wearing it. Hands down the best custom gi and no-gi gear in the business. Don't believe us? Visit them on Instagram at flow_and_roll and check out all the custom designs they've created for academies across the country. You can find our podcast here on their site as well. Go check them out. Again, it's flow_and_roll on IG. And I'd like to give that out a second time because you can check out all of the custom designs they do for academies across the country. And their big thing is they have a pre-order program. So it allows you, if you're a brand new gym owner, or even a gym owner that's been around for a while and you don't have a lot of money to lay out for new gear, gis, no-gi kits, whatever you need, they have a pre-order program where you lay out a couple $100 for the designs. They put all of the gear on their website on a page for you. Your students can order there, right? So the students are essentially paying for the order, right? So the profit goes towards the overall order. They'll give you anything you need to keep an inventory inside of the school. And you've only laid out a few $100s for the designs. The students are paying everything else. You get the balance. You get the profits. He will send you the money. Or you're buying it in gear. You're putting that all towards the gear. So it's a really cool program. I'll let him explain it. You can email them at flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their website, flowandroll.com. You can also get 20% off of anything you order online, not the pre-order program, but you get 20% off with code JJD. So check them out. All right, Leo Optics. Thank you to Leo Optics. They are a sunglass and apparel company specializing in signature bamboo glasses. I should have them queued up, right? Here we go. These are my favorites. Black, right? These are bamboo, right? Very cool. You get the little, right? Get the black belt stripe, right? You can request your belt color as this stripe. So when you order, you just got to send them a note and they'll put your color here on the inside. Very cool. Their passion is rooted in the jiu-jitsu lifestyle, founded in Southern California with products, obviously, like reflecting the BJJ lifestyle. So check them out at leooptics.com and use code JJD for 10% off. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for waiting. Vince, let's get you in here.
What's happening?
Welcome, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. I'm very sorry I had to cancel on you last month. Pretty sure I got food poisoning. I went to a barbecue on a Sunday by Monday night. I couldn't hold anything down. We'll leave it at that. I couldn't hold anything down or in. So it was pretty bad. I was sick every day. I was like, oh, I'll be better tomorrow. This will just, be a passing thing. Was sick the entire week from like Monday right through, pretty much wound up feeling better by like the next Monday was when I was like, okay, I'm through it. But it was pretty bad. So I'm sorry I had to cancel on you, but I'm glad we got to rebook and we're getting this done right before Memorial Day weekend. And also, let me say, we didn't mention you are the host of the BizJitsu Podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
That's how we met, kind of just online, and we started chatting. So let's start there. Tell everybody about the podcast and really what your focus is, and then we'll get into a little bit of your history of jiu-jitsu.
For sure, man. Well, a couple quick things. One, I'm glad you feel better, and no worries. I know that things like that do happen, so I'm glad.
Strong like bull.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
For sure. So the BizJitsu Podcast was really born on accident, right? Our goal is to create a business referral network inside the community, and the kind of the essence of how this concept came about was I used to have a older truck. I actually still have it. I just don't drive it. But it is a 2008 Toyota Tacoma, and I took it to the car dealership. And when I took it to the car dealership, I needed to get a service done. the service advisor was saying it's going to cost me $1,900. So me being the skeptical guy that I am, I wasn't ready to jump on the $1,900 option. I said, hey, let me hang back. Let me figure out what the options are. I drove away and a little frustrated because I felt like the service advisor was trying to take advantage of me. So anyways, I started doing some searching online, trying to find a private mechanic. Long story short, I was getting very frustrated because you utilize tools like Yelp and you hear or you read all these great reviews, and then you also find these bad reviews, right? So it's like, man, okay, hey, what is this whole thing? So anyways, I had this random idea that said, hey, if I knew somebody that did jiu-jitsu that was a mechanic, I would just give them the business. And anyways, that's how the whole thing came about. I started to think more and more about it. It was one of those seeds that was planted that never got away. Started to, kind of socialize that within the jiu-jitsu network here in some of the friends that I have inside the jiu-jitsu community of, hey, if I was a jiu-jitsu guy and I was looking for a mechanic, or I was looking for, some type of service, is there anybody out there? Is there anything out there that would where we would be able to do that? So anyways, there was nothing like that. We were talking a little bit offline about BNI and a referral network. So really, that's how this whole thing came about, right? And I started to jot down, hey, what is this thing going to be? And I was thinking about business, and I was thinking about jiu-jitsu, and then I had this random, note that said BizJitsu, and I went online and typed in, okay, hey, is BizJitsu a thing? It wasn't a thing. I said, okay, I think this is where the starting point is. And the way we've looked at it is we've looked at it in a couple different phases. First one is going to be the podcast, right? We just want to be able to socialize and really bring to light jiu-jitsu owners or jiu-jitsu practitioners that own businesses, and tell the story about their origin story and how they can, what type of services that they have, and really just be able to generate lead flow for these businesses, right? And create awareness for these businesses. And that's really kind of phase one. And that's where we're at right now, which is we're about 40 episodes in and having fun in the process. Still white belt in this whole in this whole podcasting game.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been fun to keep building.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is my story, and if the listeners of the show, people that listen to every episode know, I just started this for fun, and it turned into a business. And then when I left my marketing company gig, I've been doing this last May was 5 years. I wound up, leaving my marketing gig. I was getting paid pretty well. It was a good job, and I said I could do. We had sponsors. The podcast was making money, and I left, and I was just going to do that. But I know I needed to supplement my income, so I was going to do just like graphic design for people, and then it turned into Black Belt Digital Marketing, and I just then the marketing company took off, and I still haven't been able to do the podcast as much as I would have liked. Like I really wanted to do it very least once a week, and maybe even, sometimes do it, twice or even more, and just put a lot of content out there. And that was the goal. And then the marketing company took off. So, this is the most fun I have all week. The only thing better than really, doing jiu-jitsu is getting to talk about jiu-jitsu. So, it's a great part of my life. And I mentioned to you, I've had people in my life that don't think that this is a job because it's fun, which is the strangest thing in the world. Is like, isn't that the goal, to have like a job that you love? And, how many people could say they have fun at their job? But this is part of my job now. And then it ties in with the podcast. Black Belt Digital Marketing is the main sponsor. I own Black Belt Digital Marketing, and we get clients from it. You sent us a referral. I've had other referrals that come from either my gym or through listeners. Hey, listen, I got a guy that needs some help. Can you help him out? So wind up with I don't have a whole bunch of jiu-jitsu academies that we do marketing for. It's usually a jiu-jitsu practitioner that has a business that we're helping them with. So, it falls right in line with what you're saying. That there's so many businesses out there, so many jiu-jitsu people who own businesses. And we know, we're trusting our training partners with our lives in some cases, right? With life and limb. So, I think that we have a tendency to trust people within, jiu-jitsu and the martial arts world. We kind of feel like it, most of the people that we, especially in our own probably smaller circles, we trust. I have a client, I do a training partner. I help him with 4 of his businesses. So there's a level of trust there. We roll together, and then we're at the end of the class. We're talking about, hey, you got to get me this, or don't forget about that, and going back and forth. Hey, what happened with this today? Okay, cool. So there's a different level of trust, and then get to see me every time we train. Hey, the guy that's running my marketing is actually gonna be standing in front of me tonight. So I think it just brings a different level of trust. So I do like and respect what you're doing. I think there's definitely a niche there.
Sure. I mean, it's like the modern day golf course, right? I mean, you think of
yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
People doing deals on the golf course, or people networking on the golf course. Just our way of networking is on the mats, man. Yeah. And the thing that's interesting about that whole thought process is we have training partners. A lot of times, we're caught up in our own little worlds of, I'm dealing with my own problems, I'm dealing with my own things, I'm going to spend some time on the mat, and I got somebody else that's probably going and doing the, same exact thing. And part of the, day-to-day struggle is people that have businesses that are always looking for new clients, and, being able to create conversations, in and around that. I think it's, not only appropriate, but it's almost, I almost feel like an obligation, right? Is if I have an option to be able to choose a marketing company, I would prefer to have it with somebody that, that does jiu-jitsu, right? We have some alignment there. And, there's like you mentioned, there's some degrees of trust. And whether it's, Dr. Rob, the dentist, right? If I'm going to go to the dentist, an auto mechanic, I mean, I think just whatever it is, right? If there's an opportunity for us to be able to support a business, to do that with friends. And, if there's a way that we could keep that inside of the jiu-jitsu community, why not?
Yeah. I think there's one thing that we didn't talk about is there's a level of accountability. Mm-hmm. I feel not only accountable to the client, but I feel accountable to the person that might have given me the referral, if it came from you or somebody I know. And then I want to have a good name within the jiu-jitsu community. I don't want to be that asshole that's screwing people or not doing the job, or, just not coming through. So, that level of accountability, I don't even look at it as a pressure point. Like, oh God, I got to, no, it's just like, I bring the same level of drive to every client. But again, knowing that these are people that I've got to see on the mat, I might not see the plumber from Miami much outside of work. I'm going to see these people on the mats at a competition. If I travel, if I go to I'm going to like a jiu-jitsu retreat, like, these are people within the community. Like, we're a big community, but we're a small community, right? We're definitely like a niche, it's the martial arts and then jiu-jitsu, but like, 6 degrees of separation. No, it's like 2 or 3 degrees of separation within the jiu-jitsu community. We all know somebody, right? So that level of accountability, I know, is something that I feel like I really want to do even better on that account. I'll even tell my girl sometimes, like, hey, post an extra time, an extra post per week or something. Like, let's really make sure this takes off for them, because we want to, we want to have that, a good reputation within the community, on top of, having a good reputation, period. Right. So,
yeah. And at the end of the day, right, I think it's just, you got a business, right? And you want to be able to do the best work that you can. And, in a case like this, I like that word accountability, right? It's, hey, I'm going to deliver in either way, but because this is somebody that we have some alignment, we both understand what it's like showing up to the mats every day and going through class and learning and going through a whole thing. I think that there's just a, kind of this unspoken relationship, because I know what it's like and you know what it's like. Hey, if there's an opportunity for us to support one another, why not do it and do the best to deliver a great product?
So now let's tell people, let's talk about the BNI thing. I just want to mention something. We talked about BNI and then you mentioned BNI. If you are a business owner who can benefit from referrals, especially like local referrals, like meeting with other businesses or networking with other businesses in your area, just go to bni.com and check it out. You can even send me a message if you want to talk about it. Changed the way that I do business, period, to meet with like-minded business owners, or maybe even like salespeople or representatives that are doing it for their company. Like, I got into BNI for my company, but I knew I was leaving, and then I kept my seat when I opened up my own company. So I represent the digital marketing seat. I've changed groups, but in the group that I was in for 2.5 years, I was the digital marketing guy. So web design, social media, local SEO, all those things were, if somebody had a referral and knew somebody that needs something, they'd put them together with me, right? No commissions back and forth. The idea is like kind of throw all your referrals into a pot and everybody's going to eat. I make sure that the guy that does auto insurance in my group, he has my business. He also did my renter's insurance. My estate planning guy did my will. So I'm giving him my business, but I'm also referring other people that I know. So it's great. You can use them for yourself. But the idea is really to bring referrals, people that you know, and then refer them. I like to use them first and then be like, that was a great experience. Let me recommend somebody, right? So that's the idea. So, I've been doing sales for over 2 decades, and I kick myself for not joining BNI sooner. I thought it was like a multi-level marketing kind of thing. You do have to like bring other people in. You want to fill seats, like you want to fill industry seats so that you have lots of people in your group and it's more referrals for everybody. But it's not like, oh, if I bring you in, I make money because you make money. It's not that pyramid scheme, right? It's just literally like, let's bring in more business owners into this group. Every industry is represented by one person, and it's how you get business. So when I left my company, I wound up, they didn't fight for the seat. I told them that my group wanted me in the seat. They got they got a credit on what they had paid for my seat. They could have put up somebody to interview for the seat. They didn't. And my group was like, we want you anyway. So just when you open up your company, just put in your application. And I like reapplied and I got into my group. And bottom line is, if it wasn't for other than doing our own reputation management program, like our local SEO program for our company, all of my business came from referrals from people that I knew or from that BNI group. And then those referrals, they worked out well. And then those clients gave me more referrals. And that's just the way it worked. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you are a lawyer, a dentist, doctor, a gym owner, a physical therapist, a chiropractor, anything like that, where you need people locally to, as clients, BNI is the way to go, because you're meeting with other people that are going to, like, it's in your area. You're going to usually be in a group of people that are like located and do business in that same area. And then you're just sharing referrals. I did not spend a dime on any Google ads or any marketing for the first 2.5 years. I just used BNI, and I was getting so many referrals, it kept me busy, and it allowed me to grow and hire and provide medical to my employees, and like it's allowed me to do everything. And again, it's you don't have you pay an annual fee. It's not a lot, but the business that I got back allowed me to do this. We just started running Google ads this last December because we were going to hire salespeople, and I needed to like figure out what's going to work and what keywords or what do we want to advertise for, and that's worked out well as well. But for 2.5 years, I did not have to do any paid advertising. I didn't have to buy one lead, which was my biggest expense with my first marketing company that I owned for 8 years. Didn't spend a dime on anything. I spent less than $1,000 for the membership. It's like $8.99 plus an application fee for 1 full year. I mean, some of our packages are at $1,000 a month. I mean, one client pays for 1 month and it took care of it for the year. So for us, it was hugely beneficial. But definitely, if you are, doesn't matter what industry you are, doesn't matter if you do jiu-jitsu or not, find a BNI group in your area, and if there's a seat available, or find a group that has that seat available. And it's just an amazing, like, we're talking about jiu-jitsu and networking within jiu-jitsu, but it's an amazing way to get business. I don't care what you do. Again, for a lot of industries, one client a month is going to pay for it probably for the year. A dentist, you get one referral, but that referral is probably going to come back a couple of times in the year, right? Then he's going to bring the wife and the kids, and now you got 4 patients instead of just the one, right? Like, so it just takes off. And so many of my referrals that I've gotten gave me more referrals. So then it just snowballs like that. So the value of networking and the value of what we're talking about, like using people within the community, is huge. I've been doing that for so long, and then meeting you, and then you're doing it like hyper focus on jiu-jitsu. It like fits right. It's why I take to what you're saying, because it fits right in with exactly what I've been doing and how I built my business. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I got a question. So you were with one BNI group 2.5 years, recently transitioned to a new group. Is that part of the playbook of, hey, after you kind of saturate? Got it.
No. So BNI for 30 years was, let's meet in person once a week. So you could have usually chapters have somewhere in the teens, like they used to be like a minimum of 16 people. Then you're officially a group, but some have 40. There are ones in India that have like 80 or 100, but most groups here, probably in the States, and the ones that I've encountered, have somewhere between 20 to 40 members. And again, that's 40 members that are in different industries. And it's just like, again, sharing referrals, throw them in the pot. Hey, I know somebody that needs something that you do. My sister needs a real estate agent. My brother-in-law needs to do his will, right? My cousin just chipped his tooth. He needs a dentist, right? That's all it is. It's just like, hey, you send those referrals to each other. So as far as the playbook, no, you really want to let me say that. So it's originally BNI was all about just meeting the once a week. But with COVID, when I joined, every group worldwide went to virtual. So then you were meeting on Zoom every week. My group started during COVID, so we were all virtual, and part of it was we would never go in person ever, even after COVID. So a lot of groups that were fully in person went virtual. Some of those groups have only gone back to like one meeting per month in person, and then still do 3 virtuals. And some groups just went right back to most groups that were fully in person went back fully in person. And there's just a different vibe, right? There's a different vibe. Like I even tell people, I love to have people come into the studio to do it because it's just different. You know, the talking before, the talking after, I can take you to lunch, like that networking of even just within, having a podcast guest, it's just a different flow. When we say goodbye later, we say goodbye. I don't get to walk you out the door and chit chat at the car and then maybe say, hey, let me take you for some sushi, right? Like you lose that element, right? So with BNI, being in person is a big deal. So my first group was all virtual, and I was a founding member. And you switch. There's like a president of the group for 1 year, a vice president for 1 year. It's like there are roles it's like you're running a business, and I just didn't love the way that people were operating the group. It was very like. It's supposed to be like we're all members, and just because you're the president, you're not the owner. And people just started to act a little differently and letting like power go to their head a little bit. So it sparked me to look for a group, and I said, this is a good time for me to experience the in-person model. So then I wound up just accidentally, somebody came in and subbed. Sometimes like somebody will come out and sub for somebody that can't make a meeting, like a group member, they'll bring in a sub to sit in their seat for that day. It was a pet sitter, and I needed a pet sitter because I was going to New York. So I was just like, oh, what a coincidence. She came in. I started to use her as my pet sitter, and I went to New York, came back, and then she's like, hey, I need somebody to sub for my group. Why don't you sit in on my group? And I did. And their flow and their model and the way they did everything, even virtually, was a little different than my group, and I kind of liked it. And then they said they just switched to meeting once a month. And I said, I'm not having a great time in my group. My referrals had gone down. My IT guy left the group, who was a big source of referrals. So maybe this is a good time to change. And I decided to move groups. So a little unhappiness with, kind of the workflow had gone down. And I said, I've gone to the in-person. And immediately when I went to the first in-person meeting, I'm like, wow, the vibe is just different. I mean, literally, like, again, talking before, after, getting to know people. I've got a couple of new clients from the group already. I've gotten more referrals in the 1 or 2 months that I've been in this group than I did in the last 6 months in my previous group, which is sometimes groups get a little lazy, but I think a lot of people weren't happy in my other group. So it was kind of like you're there, but you're not really driven to build the group. And that's what it takes. It's always you're driven to, your job is to bring referrals, fill seats, network with each other. Like we're required to meet with at least one other member every week. So long story short is it's not the business, it's not the playbook, but it just so happened I still network and send business to people in my previous group. And now I've expanded that by this new group of close to 20 people. So it's not necessarily in the playbook, but it's working out well for me in that now I've networked. Like people in my old group still love me. Maybe the the leadership doesn't, because I wasn't too happy with the way they were doing things. But this new group is phenomenal. I'm, you take on certain roles, and like I'm a mentor for new people that come into the group because I'm probably been around in BNI longer than some of their people. So yeah, I mean it's again not in the playbook, but it's working out well for me. And again, I advertise on Google just to supplement, but I do not have to advertise on Google. Just doing our local marketing program is enough. And my son-in-law, my future son-in-law is just starting to work for our company. I got my daughter's in a BNI group in Virginia, and we just got my future son-in-law in another BNI group in Virginia. So we have 3 seats in 3 different groups in 3 different areas. and we get those referrals. So we're getting everything we need from BNI. So, it's an incredible way to do things. And, whether you're a gym owner, like getting in a group, imagine being able to talk about your jiu-jitsu academy or your martial arts academy where you do kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, self-defense, meeting with people every week, and then them sending, hey, I know somebody, my next door neighbor's got little Bobby. He's getting bullied at school. She's trying to find some martial arts for him. Like, I'm going to send them over your way. That's just the way it works, right? You're meeting with these people. They think about you and like, oh, wow. And speaking of which, last week we had Robbie D'Onofrio on. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the episode. We talked about you, and he put a coffee shop attached to his jiu-jitsu academy. So it's just like, yeah, but it took off for him. So, right. So people can just come and get coffee, or the parents can get coffee, sit in like a Starbucks-like coffee shop, and through the windows watch their kids. He's like, people can work. You can bring your computer. It's just like a Starbucks, right? And he's doing a meeting. He's doing something, I believe, in September, where he's going to teach other business owners to do this. And I mentioned to him, because I know you have a franchise background, I said, I told him I'm interviewing somebody next week. We've been developing a relationship and a friendship, and you should really speak to him about what you're doing. And I know you want to teach people how to do it, but is there a franchise model outside of like the Jiu-Jitsu Academy side, right? Where we're like, members of, right? Like I see Combat Base in the background there, like, right? That's the, like you're an affiliate, essentially. What's the other word? Not an affiliate, but right, you're, kind of under that umbrella of a main, right? Hoist Gracie, and like, right, he's the guy that put the, the black belt, or like,
lineage or whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, Chris Howder, right, is Combat Base, right? He's at the top, and then like there's Combat Bases all over the country, right? So I mentioned to him, I'm like, it's great that you want to teach people. I get that. But is there a money-making model in here for the coffee shop side of this that would be something franchise related, right? So I mentioned you, and I said, not only do I think he'd be a great interview for you because he's got like, I think he's got like maybe 3 locations and 700 students. Wow. 700 students for 5 locations, for 10 locations is probably good, right? 700 students. I believe he said, he was saying like he's got a few different locations. So, number one, I wanted to put him together with you because I think he'd be a great interview for you to talk about that, the coffee shop side of things and how it's affected his business. Like, it's an amazing interview. So I got to put you guys together. But yeah, the franchise side of what you do, I'm not sure if you have advice for him on how he could, I hate the word take advantage of, but really, right, like offer that service and help people, but make it a franchise. So I don't know if there's a fit there.
Yeah, no, I'd love that introduction. And what's interesting is I heard about this concept at our academy. There was somebody talking about coffee shop attached to jiu-jitsu academy that was out. He's out in Florida, right?
Yeah, he's in Riverview, Florida. He owns Gracie Brandon. It's his main location.
Yeah, literally. I mean, somebody was talking about that. I mean, it was probably a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who's a Gracie Baja Academy owner out here in Southern California, but he also owns a coffee shop. That's his primary business.
Yeah.
He created a coffee roaster operation where he's now distributing the coffee beans that he sells out of his shop, that he makes coffee out of his shop.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we were chatting about him, and some other guy had jumped in saying, "Oh, is that the guy who owns the coffee shop / jiu-jitsu academy?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know who he talked about." So yeah, man, I love that introduction. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. He's it was the reason that I asked him to come on the podcast originally was I saw the concept. I saw that he worked with Flow and Roll, and I was just like, I love the concept, and obviously I love talking about business as well as jiu-jitsu. So I invited him on. I actually reached out to Sean. I'm like, what do you think of this guy? Good guest. He says, absolutely. I said, make an intro. He put us together. And then he started he's made a push on social media. So he's been building. I think he went from when I reached out to him, he was under 10,000 followers. And like, by the time we had him on 3 weeks later, he was at 15. He's one of these guys that's doing the whole kind of under 1 minute, like jiu-jitsu tutorials. Like every move every white belt should know, or, something like that. So he's been doing that, and actually, like kind of the core group of people in his area, it looks like they might be working with the same people. There's a bunch of them doing. I think her name is Chris Rodriguez, who we've got scheduled on the show for next month. She owns She owns the Gracie Academy up there. Matt Arroyo. I don't know if you see Matt Arroyo stuff. He's the one that who's not Groot. Who's the
right?
Who's the wrestler that does that just got his brown belt? The big guy that's one in the Marvel movies. Who's the big guy? Batista. Batista's a brown belt. I believe he's a brown belt under Matt Arroyo, or at least he trains with him. So like that whole group in like North Florida, I believe they're all in North Florida. They're all kind of related and work together. So we have Chris coming on, but like I could see like there's similar content. Chris, Matt, and Robbie. I could tell like it's similar formatting and the way that the videos are done, but they're all making that big push and they've all really, really grown on social media. So that's another like good business side to talk about. There's the coffee shop, but then there's this push on social media.
That content creation.
I mean, that's big right now, right? It's just like, and I love I like to consume my jiu-jitsu that way because I'm not big on like buying, tutorials. But, watching those little things that like, oh, it kind of fixes my jiu-jitsu. Like that's where I feel like I'm at, or at least what I like to do. Oh, wow, they do that arm bar different, or they do that omoplata different, or they grab the hip differently or move the foot. I like to catch those little things. So I love that. I love consuming jiu-jitsu that way.
Unlock the power of your online presence with Black Belt Digital Marketing. Their reputation management program ensures your Google business profile seen by more potential customers. Black Belt Digital Marketing is your full-service digital marketing agency specializing in local SEO and reputation management. Boost your business today. Visit bbdigitalmarketing.com. Your success is their priority.
Miss your morning routine, Bio Pro.
Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
So I've really taken to their stuff, and they've all really built the following over just the last couple of months.
Now, do those guys? They all have the coffee shop model attached to their.
I don't believe so. I think Robbie is the only one that had, like, that's Robbie's thing. But he's, again, he wants to spread that. He wants to spread that knowledge, and it's noble of him. But at the same time, again, I mentioned, maybe there's, is there a franchise opportunity here? Is there a way to do this? He's going to do some type of seminar. I don't know. Maybe he'll make money from the seminars, or maybe he's doing it for free. I don't know. But he does want to get, jiu-jitsu school owners together to kind of, he wants to teach them what he did. If you look at his stuff, look at his videos, the video that caught my eye was one where he was walking through the coffee shop. And I was just like, what a freaking great idea. And, he's like, I don't have a waiting area on the jiu-jitsu side. It's all mats because the coffee shop is the waiting area. You're a parent. You want to wait for your kid. You're going to be over there in the coffee shop. You're going to grab a coffee. You're going to grab a water, right? Maybe you bring your computer. You can get on the Wi-Fi and work. So it's just a great vibe rather than just, having parents sit around and play on their phone. I've always seen, you've probably seen it. You can tell me, right? Like there's the coffee shop. There's the, like get your smoothies, right? Like a lot of gyms have had that. But I honestly, every gym that I've seen has that, like it winds up going out of business. Like the way that he set it up, it's its own business. It's its own business, its own staff. It's not like the gym, the coach has to run over and make a smoothie for somebody, right? It can't be that. Then it doesn't work. It has to work by it being its own business, its own staff. People can go into the coffee shop and have no knowledge of or interest in jiu-jitsu and go get a coffee. And that's what his model does. It just so happens that you can walk from one store into you can walk through the door into the academy without having to go outside, right? So like they're attached. It's a great concept. It's a great idea. I think that it's definitely something that could and should take off. I mean, my gym, we got a soda machine and there's chips and there's always, something. But I think that this is a great way to literally have a coffee shop next door where people can, parents can talk. Big windows and you could see the entire academy, so you're not taking your eyes off of little Johnny, but you can really get a coffee, have a meal, get a sandwich. Again, great concept. I think that you guys would have a great conversation as well.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. I love that introduction. But what an incredible concept, right? Because you think of just the mechanics of a business, right? Is, hey, we need to be able to drive foot traffic in the door and create a story that people are going to, tell out in the community. And I mean, just, hey, there's a coffee shop attached to a jiu-jitsu academy. And, kind of
it sounds so like, well, duh, that just makes sense, right? Like, parents got to wait an hour for little Johnny, give him a coffee, right? It makes so much sense. But to do it as, you could put a coffee machine or you can create a coffee shop. And that coffee shop model is a money-making prospect for him. And he also mentions that, people come in, he goes, the people, the coffee shop workers understand jiu-jitsu, understand they are his salespeople, essentially, right? They can sign you up for jiu-jitsu classes. You can get your coffee. They can talk to you about classes, cost, pricing, and get you signed up. So like, how amazing is that? They're like, oh wow, I didn't realize what's going on here. I need a coffee. Do I got to do jiu-jitsu? Oh, okay. Get your coffee. They explain, what this whole thing is, and then if there's an opportunity for you to do jiu-jitsu, they literally are signing people up. This is amazing. I mean, that's a great concept. I think I know every school that I've been to or at, their biggest problem is that the coach is the salesman, right? So to literally have people instead of, sometimes you have a front desk person, but they're usually, either a coach or doing jiu-jitsu as well. In this situation, no, they're in the coffee shop, they're handling the coffee. And when you come in, they could potentially hand you a business card or talk to you about classes, show you the rates, or literally get you signed up, which I think is freaking incredibly smart. I mean, come on, Again, biggest problem that most academies have is that they're not handling their leads correctly. They can get tons of phone calls, but do they follow up? What is the follow-up model? How are you quoting? Are you inviting them to a class? Do you have a free trial week? Like all those things are the problems that I think most gyms have. They can have a great reputation and get people through the door, but how do they handle like following up on a prospect? We both know, sales not always done in the first conversation. You've got to follow up, you've got to talk, you've got to reiterate some of the things that you said, and again, maybe offer them something for free. You got to get them through the door, and that's the problem that people have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, my background, as you mentioned, is in franchising, particularly inside the fitness space, and really that's the whole essence of any type of recurring revenue model, right? Is that we got to get people in the door, and once they're here, we got to keep them here, right? And part of that is that lead generation, and the other part of it's lead management. The other part of it's the retention component, right? And in our world of jiu-jitsu is, hey, you got to deliver, a great culture on the mats and a great experience, both on and off the mats. But that doesn't happen instantaneously, right? It's you take somebody that doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu that finds the academy, whether it's through a digital ad or whether it's, hey, I heard about this coffee shop concept. I've always wanted to come in, or I may just not even be thinking about jiu-jitsu. I just want to grab a coffee and it's convenient for me, right? Yeah. So that lead flow that comes in, the difference between somebody that really creates a profitable and meaningful business inside the fitness space, really that the difference is how well they can execute that sales and marketing component, right? And that's really the engine behind it. And then also, at the end of the day, you got to be able to have a really great product that you're selling and marketing. And, through that, right, we could feel confident that, okay, hey, the instruction's great, but how come there's not enough students in the academy for the academy to be able to flourish? And part of that is just, hey, one, it's either a lead flow issue or you are getting enough leads, just there isn't a sales process that could help them kind of go through the process and help them get started and get a membership activated.
So I know you said we talked about a little bit of business and you were going to be doing some stuff. Are we able to talk about any of that yet? Or you still, is some of that in the works?
Still in the works. Yeah. So I have a staffing and recruiting company called Union Staffing Group. Currently we're not taking on any additional clients. but it's a boutique staffing and recruiting firm. Primarily, we do recruiting for people inside of the fitness space. Sales and marketing executives is where a lot of the business development comes from. Just because that's kind of the world that I've lived in, so I could speak to that. We do some recruiting for people in health profession, medical doctor, several of those types of. I have a client that is a clinic out here in California that we do that we supply candidates for. But I'm evolving that into a consulting company. Primarily inside the franchise space. So yeah, we're still kind of going through some of that. So not fully prepared to talk about that. That'll be episode number 2 when I come back.
Okay. Now, while you're talking about that, and I told you my son-in-law, future son-in-law, is a teacher. He's leaving his teaching gig and he's going to start with us. Actually, we're going to be doing his first actual sales call on Memorial Day. Because he's off from school, and the guy was just like, "Yeah, I'd rather meet on Monday. I'm off too." And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll make the time." So we're going to do a 3-way call or video chat and talk to him. But you're talking about staffing. I'm always looking for, I don't necessarily in my world. There aren't a lot of companies that pay a salary to salespeople because we'll just pay like a high commission, and then it's just based on what you want to do, right? How much work you want to do. If you wanted to be a full-time salesperson, I would certainly talk to somebody about, okay, these are the things we could do. And maybe there's some type of salary, or there's a base with maybe a lower commission, but we can do a higher commission. And it's, your work is, you want to make more money, do more sales. So, I mean, I know you mentioned, you talked about sales and marketing, and you said the people that you kind of represent or that you help. I would love to talk to you about, I could use salespeople. Ideally, I don't need somebody full-time. I need somebody that has those contacts with gyms, academies, people that need to get their location more exposure, could use more local business. And what do gyms and academies need, right? They want local business. That's exactly what we do. Our product is for those people to get more exposure, to increase their Google business profile exposure, not only in their backyard, but in a wider service area. So if somebody's got another job, but they're like, oh, but I can refer, oh, wow, refer them to me and I can give them a commission. They don't need to be on staff. They don't need to be an employee, but I can wind up, giving them, a nice commission on that work. And it's a residual commission. So hold on one second. All right, guys, sorry about that. We lost Vince for a minute or two. So I'm going to just go back. And Vince, what I was saying was, when we got cut off, is I'm always looking to hire salespeople. My first salesperson is going to be my future son-in-law. He's actually we have our first meeting on Monday. I don't know if you heard that before we got cut off. We have our first meeting on Memorial Day. So, but I got him into a B&I group. Same thing, same methodology. He's just getting referrals, and he's doing one-to-ones and meeting with people, and essentially it's once they trust you, they're happy to maybe give you business, their own business, or refer. So you mentioned you said something about sales and marketing, and my ears perk. For me, I don't need staff salespeople. I need, just like my networking works, although I don't, with our networking group, I don't have to pay commissions, right? My payment to them is giving them a referral, trying to refer them business so that they can make money, right? So sure. I don't know if this model would fit anybody that but I'm always looking for somebody to at least kind of send referrals, but on a regular basis, be a salesperson, but they don't need to be a full-time salesperson. They don't need to sit in an office and make, cold calls all day. But when they're within their other job, or if they're in this field, but don't do this part, don't do the marketing side, they meet somebody that could use some help with local exposure, right? They can send us that business, but we want them sending us regular business and be either a part-time salesperson or an independent contractor for us. And then we would pay them a percentage, depending on, how much they're working for us. It could be a higher percentage. If you had a salesperson that was absolutely a killer and wanted a job, I would figure out a way to, do a base plus then a smaller commission. But my goal is usually to not pay a base and just to pay the commission, and it's residual. So most clients are paying us something every month. So a client that's paying us, $1,000 a month, you're always making a percentage of that. A lot of companies, they'll pay you a larger percentage the first month, and then they cut it down significantly in the residual. I don't do that. I pay you like the same commission on that client so that the salesperson can make money. Again, I'm not giving them a base, so they get to make that same big commission on that. So I don't know if you have anybody that would be interested. They don't need to be martial arts related. Again, it could be anything. I've got doctors, dentists, I've got academies. Dentists stand out to me as the ones that we've been able to help the most. Like lately, it's just like our dentists are killing it, even without doing any Google ads. But yeah, I mean, anybody that's a restaurant, doctor, an attorney, like those are all great fits for us because they want business that's like in their local market. They want people that are going to come into the office, right? And, again, leave them a nice review and then they get more business, right? And that's essentially how it works. So if you know anybody in your world that might be a good fit or might just want to have a conversation with me, I'd love to, to talk to some people. And again, it's easier for me to do, somebody who's like, kind of has a sales background and is doing something and goes, I sell this, but they need help with their marketing as well. So I can, maybe put them together with you. And then I do all the sales work. They don't have to do anything if they don't want to. I do all the sales work. And if we book it, they get the residual commission. And it's the same as whether they're doing the wholesale or if they just hand it over to me. So just a thought. I don't know if you have anybody or if there's anybody listening that wants a sales gig or is they consider themselves a great salesperson with a lot of contacts, reach out.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what's interesting about that is the residual component. Right. I think that's a fascinating.
Like an insurance agent, right? Insurance agent's always making money. You pay your bill, he's getting a piece.
For sure. I think that's fantastic. The one thing that there's any specific candidates that come to mind, just because like how my model works is we would work with or we would identify a company that has a vacancy. They're looking to fill a certain role of whatever brand manager, whatever the existing role is. We would create a contract around that, and then we would start sourcing candidates and sending candidates to the company or to the client, I should say. The way that we use that, so we have some tools that we use to be able to source candidates and also to be able to do the business development. So you're on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you do a lot of work on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has a feature called LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right, which could allow you to be able to filter very specific positions in very specific markets to be able to source candidates. There are some other tools you could use. Google X-ray, which is an interesting feature, right, where you could be able to just source candidates of people that have specific sales backgrounds in specific markets, and you can literally gather all their contact information and be able to do.
I've never heard of Google X-ray before.
Yeah. So yeah, Google X-ray, like what you need to have is you need to have some understanding of, do you know what a Boolean search is? Have you heard of that?
No.
So what a Boolean search is, it's just a way to be able to type in information into a search engine, right? And LinkedIn in itself is a search engine that is just for people that are advertising their background and all the skill sets and all the things that you have. So like what would happen is you would create a Boolean search, and it would be, salespeople. Let's say, for instance, you're looking for people that, I'll give you an example, right? Somebody that may be in a similar background for what you're looking for is, hey, they're going to work on a higher commission structure and a lower base pay, right? So lower fixed, higher variable. Maybe you may be looking for somebody that's in cell phones, right? Because that's a manageable thing. Hey, they're selling an intangible product. They probably get an hourly rate. They get higher commissions. They understand the volume game. They understand how to network, how to talk to people, how to get their foot in the door.
Sure.
You may be looking for, let's say, for instance, fitness people are inside of that world. People that sell solar are probably inside of that world. So what you would do is you would create a Boolean search, right? And again, you could do some research on that, but essentially you'd be looking for salespeople or account executives in, Doral, Florida, with whatever company, Sunrun.
Sure.
And you would put in this very specific search so that it's very particular in regards to like what you're looking for. If you're looking for somebody that has this and that, or this or that, you would type it out specifically. You'd put that into Google X-ray, and out will come everybody that fits the criteria inside of that search. And I mean, literally, you could create your own little database of people that fit that criteria, and then from there, you would put together your own outreach campaign, right?
Gotcha.
So I use a system called Dripify, which, as we put together candidates, we create a potential candidate list, and then we would create the outreach, right? So there would be, a specific message that would go out on LinkedIn, that we would send out an email. Then I would look at their profile, and again, there's just very specific things that would happen through that process to be able to get that person's attention, right? Because when you're thinking about recruiting, how it works is the best candidates are not looking for jobs.
Sure.
The best candidates already have jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And the tough part is a lot of companies will just use resources like Indeed, or post, job recs on places like LinkedIn or whatever the case is, which is a great place to start because it does help you find the people that are looking for that type of job. The problem is they are looking for a job, which means they don't have one, right? And usually the reason they don't have one is there's something that happened, right? So the recruiting process is really, I'm going after people that they already have chops. They're already doing well at another company. We're just trying to find a reason for them to,
almost, would you call that kind of like headhunting a little bit? That's kind of like headhunting, right? That's exactly
what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly
what you just explained makes a lot of sense why my inbox fills up so much. Why I get, and it's funny because I get those like, hey, we understand that you're the CEO of this company. And essentially I'm getting headhunted. And more specifically, I know when it's coming from LinkedIn because it'll say, like the way that Black Belt's listed, it's Black Belt Digital Marketing -USA, because I get like Black Belt Digital Marketing was taken. So when I see that, I know it's from LinkedIn. I usually just delete it. I'm like, I can see spam from LinkedIn, delete.
Yep.
So yeah, but it makes a lot. What you just said. Oh, this is why I'm getting it, and this is how they're getting my info. Because they'll give me some details about myself, and then LinkedIn or they'll have the website.
Some of that
makes
stuff.
Sense.
Yeah, some of that stuff gets pulled off of your current profile and it gets put into this, right? So as you type in the follow up, it would go to hi first name,
sure.
Right? Milton.
Yeah.
I see that you are position CEO of right. So there's really kind of two ways, right? If you are looking for kind of a cold outreach, right, and you have a big candidate list, right, you're going to put in some automation to be able to just sort through people, because through that process, if you're not looking, kind of like what you're saying, is like, nope, delete. But the moment you are looking, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Let me take a look. Yeah. Right. Let me at least open the conversation. So part of it is just like anything else, right? It's just like any type of sales or marketing. You have to be skilled enough to be able to get somebody's attention, and be authentic enough so it doesn't feel like spam.
Yeah.
But that's the starting point. And then you got to be able to put some personality, behind that, because, again, candidates are smart, right? Hey, you're not going to bait and switch me on some clickbait, right, type thing. But if I am in the market, I am looking, and it is an appropriate fit, right? You got to be able to play the volume game, right? It's just like any other.
Yeah. I know though. I'll see the ones that say like, hello, Black Belt, like it's picked up the beginning of the company name as my first name or something. So I'll say, hey, hello, Black Belt. And I'm like, delete, immediately I know it's not a human being behind it. I know that it's it's AI or it's some automation. But I mean, I'm not looking for a job. If you got me on a list somewhere, whoever's out there, I'm not looking for a job. I am looking. I'm not aggressively trying to build, but I mean, I'm sticking within that referral model, which I think is great for any business, jiu-jitsu or otherwise, right? Just to, right? Jiu-jitsu academies, like you're getting referrals from like, little Johnny's mother is talking to her best friend, like, this is amazing. Johnny's been doing great. And, his bully's not bothering him anymore, right? That's a referral, right? You've just mentioned it. It's a referral, or they leave a Google review, right? Like those things are so important. So like within this world, it's the same thing. I don't care where it comes from. And again, I'm willing to pay for that referral. I usually only pay, I pay when it's something consistent, like if it's like, hey, I'm doing this as a job. I know you're not paying me a salary, but hey, I want to build up a residual commission with you. And the beauty of it again is like when you're paying residual like that, it allows somebody to build up and then come work for you more, or at least go, okay, I have this residual commission built up and it's just as good as a base salary, and I know I'm going to build more, and I might even give them leads or access to our database of people that we might not have booked, and now they've got something to start with. But I'm like super low pressure sales. Like people come to us, and we're so busy that, and we get enough referrals that I don't feel like I need to chase. But it would be great to chase our database, which I don't. Which like usually there's so many new prospects that it's just like, okay, let's focus on somebody that actually wants to do business. Let's not focus on the people we have to chase. But that's part of this world, right? You do have to chase some people and remind them of, what they were looking for and what you could do for them. So yeah, man.
For sure.
We'll talk a little bit now. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. I know we're going to have a conversation about when you get your thing started and sure. what we can help with. We'll talk about that as well a little bit more. Let's transition into we haven't talked a lot about jiu-jitsu specifically. I see combat base in the background. I mentioned that before. Is that the academy that you go to?
So I train at 2 academies. My home academy is my professor is Thomas Kenny. He has an academy here in Corona, California, where I live, called TKJJ, Thomas Kenny Jiu-Jitsu. So I train there. That's usually my home club. I'm a early morning. I train early morning. We have a group of 6 a.m. folks that we come in and train. Combat base, I supplement my training with Chris and Melissa Howder. They are out here in Southern California, so fortunately, I'm able to get down to the combat base garage. Every so often. I try to do that at least once a month. There was a point there where I was going a little bit more frequently. Just logistically, it's not the easiest to be able to get to. But Chris and Melissa Howder are fantastic. But my home academy is Thomas Kenny Jiu-Jitsu.
So I don't know how much you know about Chris and Melissa. Do you want to tell people a little bit about who Chris is and kind of that background? Again, I don't know how much you know about him. You probably know more than me, but why don't you tell people a little bit about who he is?
Yeah, for sure. So Chris Howder is one of the I'll use air quotes dirty dozen. He I guess started jiu-jitsu out in Torrance, California, where the original Gracie Academy was. He had a wrestling background and was inside of a wrestling room at El Camino College, and somebody was showing this mount position, and him being a wrestler, he thought, okay, well, I could just bridge my way out of that. And anyways, that person got on mount, and Chris said, man, this is something special. What is this? And he thought it was Aikido. And the guy said, no, this is actually jiu-jitsu. And anyways, he was referred over to Horion. And the guy said, hey, call this guy Rorion. It was a telephone number. He had called it. This was in the 90s. Oh, actually, it's probably in the late 80s because he got his belt in 1996. So it would have been in the late 80s. And he started doing jiu-jitsu under Horion. And the way they did jiu-jitsu back then was you'd pay for private. You would go to the garage, and you either had a private with Horion, with Hickson or Hegan. And he ended up getting his black belt from Hegan in 1996. Anyways, he's just fascinating guy.
Let's talk about the Dirty Dozen. He was one of the first 12 Americans to receive his black belt.
Correct.
And am I saying that correct? Like he was one of the first American black belts under, BJJ black belts, period, right? But, specifically under really that lineage of Horion and then Hegan. I guess really I don't think Hegan's under Horion, right? I mean, they were kind of like, right?
No, they're cousins.
Yeah, right. So they're kind of at that same level. So one of the first American black belts, let's just say it like that, right? So there's that group of the Dirty Dozen, right?
Correct. Yeah. So he was one of the first 12 people to get a black belt here in America.
Yeah. He's a great follow. Just search Chris Howder. What is it? Hauter. He's a great follow. He's got a very unique take on jiu-jitsu. He definitely has that old school take. If anybody knows, you've probably seen a video. If you do jiu-jitsu, you've come across a video where it's like the golden rules or something. He has the rules of jiu-jitsu. It's just like, about staying on top, like when on top, stay on top. If you're not on top, have a guard that's impossible to pass. Do you know that? Do you know it? Can you say it better than I'm?
Yeah, for
I'm not
sure.
doing it justice.
Yeah. Always be the guy on top. When on top, stay on top. And when on the bottom, have a guard that you cannot pass. And anyways, yeah.
And then the fourth one is just like, what is it like? See, like go back to rule number 1, be on top or something like that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, I mean, his philosophy. I mean, he's just a very interesting guy to be around. I had a chance to meet him at a seminar, and anyways, through that, I started to do a little bit of research, and he has a concept called combat-based club, which is a club that you can come in and participate in. That's essentially how I found them. Fortunately, I'm locally enough here where I could drive out to that garage. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it online, but that green garage. And yeah, I mean, he's just a fascinating guy, great guy. I mean, the nuance and jiu-jitsu, or the nuance and detail to jiu-jitsu is very fascinating. Also, too, I think what's interesting about him is he's 59 as a black belt, still very active, doing seminars, roles with students, actively teaching, doing all those things. But again, just helping the old guy jiu-jitsu in me, right? And being able to make sure, he has this phrase of, it's not about who's good, it's about who's left.
Okay.
And the goal there is to be able to make sure that, hey, I could come back to be able to do this again, right, another day.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, he just has some very, very unique philosophical views on jiu-jitsu and training. And also too, I mean, again, just you have that much mat time, there's just little details and nuance that I get a chance to be able to pick up. So the cool thing about my current situation is I go train at the academy with a home team Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll get a chance to go out to Chris's. He has an open mat on Thursdays and Sundays, or I frequently do privates with him as well. And the cool thing is I can come back and work on a couple things, or if I'm getting stuck at my academy on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there may be some things that I may be trying to work through that I could bring to him and say, hey, what do you do in this situation? And I can come back and be able to do that. So yeah, I'm a proponent of cross training. I love that. I think it's great to be able to have some additional looks. Plus also too, just in that room, in his garage, I mean, there's just some assassins that are in there.
What in that garage scenario on an open mat, how many guys are on the mat at any given time, or how many people are showing up to an open mat like that?
I mean, it's private because you have to be part of the group. But there's people from other different academies that are all part of this kind of Chris Howder combat-based club.
Sure.
That are out here that are local enough to be able to go there. But there's probably 10, 12 guys. Usually I'm the lowest ranked in the room. But more times than not, I'm the lowest ranked person in that room. And yeah, it's just great, man.
Yeah.
The amount of technical proficiency that you have. And then also too, again, I'm a big fan of just getting looks from other people that have more experience. I think it's great to be able to test and try new things, and also just pick up little nuances on what they're doing, or be able to ask questions in regards to, hey, how did you do that, or what were you doing to me here, and being able to couple that with my my home training and my consistent training is always fun.
That's awesome. Does he not? He never opened up like let's just say a regular gym. It's always been out of his garage, right? But he's got combat-based affiliates all over the country, maybe all over the world.
Yeah, so he has combat-based affiliates that are all over the world. He spent a lot of time doing seminars, and he also has people that are part of his lineage, right? So that Straight Blast Gym is part of his lineage, which, again, they have, just a lot of folks that came out of that Straight Blast Gym. That's all part of that Chris Howder lineage. So
I've been to one combat base when I went to, we used to work with We Defy, which is a great organization, still love them. We worked with them a lot in the first couple of years, had them on a ton. Out in Texas, outside of Dallas, I went to the annual gala a few years ago, and then I got a chance to go out to the combat base there. The founders of We Defy were out there. I didn't. At the time, I didn't understand that combat base was part of Chris Howard. I was probably a purple belt then, so still kind of, I didn't travel a lot for jiu-jitsu, so I didn't necessarily understand all that stuff. But was doing the podcast already and just like, meeting lots of people across the country. And, I've had the t-shirt. I just threw the t-shirt out the other day, but I've been wearing a combat-based t-shirt forever for that location. And, again, didn't really understand that was Chris Howder's. I didn't know that was like, he's at the top of that affiliate.
Yeah. He actually, him and Melissa just started a podcast, combat-based podcast.
I think I've seen some clips on Instagram.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Yeah, he's a not just a very fascinating jiu-jitsu historian. He's just a very fascinating guy as a whole. So he's an artist. So he has this artist mind. And anyways, yeah, he's
a great follow. Like, if you don't just look him up on Instagram, Chris Howder, he's an amazing follow. He has some great. I probably am like more in tune with the things that he says than seeing him like running, like doing like tip videos or anything like that. I think most of what I usually hear him talking about jiu-jitsu rather than seeing him do jiu-jitsu. But that's where like I've definitely, the things that he says has resonated, especially as an older player. It's, you tend to gravitate towards other older players that are still doing it. Like, I tell people, I want to be able to do jiu-jitsu for, as long as I can. I don't want to die on the mat, but I want to be doing this for a long time. So, I definitely take to people that are, that have been around as long as he has, and how and why. And I know like a lot of younger players don't what I'm about to say doesn't necessarily resonate with them, but everybody wants to. Let me say it this way. I had a guest say this. Everybody's a legend. Like, everybody's a legend in their own mind, right? So everybody wants to be at the top of the podium. Everybody wants to be an ADCC guy. The human body is the human body. If you want to be doing this for a long time, you cannot train like that forever without it affecting your body, without you having back issues, shoulder issues, neck issues, injuries, ligament tears. I mean, those things are just going to happen. Starting at 41, like next month will be officially 10 years for me. I'll be 51 in June, and I started right before my 41st birthday. I have known since early on. I mean, I was addicted in the beginning, but probably once I got to about purple, I realized like I have to roll differently if I want to survive. I rolled with a buddy last night. He's in his late 20s. We were just transitioning. He was trying to do he was trying to sweep me, and I was like, whatever, he fucked up his knee. And we were probably both using a lot of muscle and strength in that moment. His ankle got caught underneath him, and it was just like he tried to sweep me. He tried a butterfly sweep, and it didn't work, and his foot got caught. But I mean, it could happen to anybody. That wasn't because of his age or because he was going too hard. But like, I am super conscious in those moments of like, if I'm muscling something, I'm like, let me come back. Let me not muscle this, because I'm going to hurt my back. I'm going to hurt my shoulder. I'm going to hurt my neck, whatever it may be. But not everyone's always agree. I'm not trying to do this to be, to go to ADCC. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my health, mental, physical. And I just love jiu-jitsu, and I love the camaraderie and the community. A lot of people, when you say that to a younger guy, they're like, "Oh, you're an old timer." I'm doing this for this. And again, everybody's a legend in their own mind. Everybody wants to be at the top of the podium. Everybody wants to go to competitions, but it's just not there for everybody. I want to be in this for a long time, so I roll that way. I roll a little bit harder now as a black belt, because I feel like people I got the black belt, and like people are rolling harder with me. So a lot less pulling guard, and a lot more fighting for the top, because now everybody, it's just like, I want to tap the black belt, right? I rolled with that guy last night that got hurt, and I rolled with two guys that are in their teens. They are young men, but they are men, bigger and stronger than me, and they're tough fucking rolls. And sometimes I don't think they realize, like, I'm going to be 51 and you are 19. And they're rolling with me like they're rolling with another 19-year-old. And I never tell them to stop, but we're going to roll hard. But I also know when to, like, okay, I probably, I might have to pull guard, or I might have to, like, just, stay on the bottom or stay here and fight to get out, or try to catch them with something. But I certainly roll, with longevity in mind, That's
it's a big piece, man. I mean, I'll tell you, I hurt my shoulder. This was pre-COVID, and I had a labrum tear, posterior anterior labrum tear. My bicep was 3/4 of the way detached, so it's just hanging on by a little thread there. So I had to get that cleaned up.
What did that feel like? Because I have a shoulder problem that resonate down and I haven't had it taken care of. I've been getting cortisone shots to get it taken care of.
Oh yeah.
But what is the feeling? Can you elaborate? Because I'm curious if it's similar to what's maybe going on with me.
Yeah. So I did the whole thing, man. I did the physical therapy, every type of thing to neutralize it.
Cortisone shots? Did you?
Oh yeah. I did cortisone shots. And anyways,
great. I love the cortisone shots.
well, the funny thing is mine wouldn't even take.
Really?
So yeah, I had the cortisone shot, and anyways, it did nothing. Right. So how did it feel? Besides painful, it was more just a very big loss range of motion.
Okay.
So, and even still, like I had that surgery, that was pre-COVID, and I don't have full range of motion in my shoulder. But during that time frame, I could probably lift my hand up to maybe my nose range. That was the highest it would go. And about furthest it would go probably is 45 degrees out. I couldn't put it out to the side.
Okay.
So that was just terrible. And then also to just my ability to be able to grip, like initially was fine. But I mean, we know how jiu-jitsu is, right? There's a degree of like isometric hold to be able to hold something inside of that. So any type of like deep underhook where I would have to be able to grab was, very uncomfortable. And it got to a point where I would roll and I would essentially just get onto my left hip to be able to hide my left shoulder. Okay. And everything would be in this, right butterfly. I would kind of go into a half guard in that way. But anyways, it got too bad where I couldn't do it anymore. And, I eventually ended up getting surgery done. I think I'd approach it differently now. If I was to ever get re-injured, I would want to explore this whole stem cell thing, right? To see if there's a way to be able to repair it that way. But the other part of it too is the reason I got injured was ego. And the reason why I didn't get it fixed was ego, right? Yeah. That was very revealing to me. And then that happened pre-COVID.
Now, what was the ego? Not wanting to be off the mat, or just like I'll get through this, no big deal. What was the ego side of it?
Both, yeah. Right? It was just hey, I don't want to tap, and hey, it's fine. I'll get better and I'll work through it, right? Because again, historically, those are things that you'd be able to just work through, but just you can't work through injury when there's that many. I had, again, my shoulder was torn in 2 places. My bicep was hanging on. And it's just, man, you can only do so much and it has to get repaired. And so anyways, when I lost or when I had the surgery, COVID happened. I'm in California, right? So California, COVID, that whole thing, we were on, pretty massive lockdown. And so finally, when I had a chance to get back on the mats, I was like, man, you know what? I got to approach this way differently. I got to tap early, I got to tap often. I got to be able to make sure I'm conscious enough to not put myself in situations that could put me in danger. So again, it just changed my approach. And then because there was a point where I was wondering if I would even be able to get back, right? You couple COVID with this bad shoulder post-surgery. I wanted to make sure that, okay, hey, when I get a chance to be able to come back, like I just want to come back and be able to play a little bit of a different game. So this version of me, as I came back from my injury, I've been thinking about more of just the long-term game, right? Consistency over time and, learn and try new things and, make sure that I'm acutely aware, slowing the game down, right? I think is critical. So yeah, it's such a fun process.
My, like right now, like this, right? Can you see me? Right?
Yeah.
This hurts just going straight up. Right. So like these motions, so like I have to stay really tight. The crazy thing is that I've had that same problem in both arms, but it also affects me down the bicep and into the forearm. Yeah. So if I'm doing curls, like I have to do lower weights, I can feel it. Right. But I had the same problem on the right arm, literally at the same time, and the right arm pain went away, right? So this isn't as bad. I can move this shoulder a little bit more. This one is horrible right now. I've gone to get, man, I can hear it inside. I can hear it in my ear. So I've gone to, and I've had, usually get cortisone shots. I was supposed to go yesterday, as a matter of fact, to get a cortisone shot, and I had to cancel the appointment. This is the worst it's ever been, but this one was bad and it went away. I don't have the pain in the bicep and in my forearm. I feel that all through here, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, it'll go away. But like to the point now where even if I'm doing bench, like that hurts. Got to do low weights with everything now. Like pull downs and things like that are okay. Like this, I can go up, but the pull down doesn't give me pain. This motion, gives me pain. That's why I'm asking, like, what was the feeling? Because I feel it in my shoulder up here, and then I feel it go right down the inside of my bicep into my forearm. But again, I had it on the other side. It went away. So in my mind, like, again, maybe it's ego. I guess I haven't called it ego before, but I'm like, it'll go away. Okay, just don't go crazy with the weights. I actually have less pain when I go to jiu-jitsu than if I go to the gym and do weights. In jiu-jitsu, I stay tight. I haven't had I haven't had somebody try to, like, even somebody could Kimura me that's not going to hurt here. It's if like somebody goes like this and brings it across, all that hurts right there. So, that, and I just try to avoid that. And funny enough, I play on my right. Right. Yeah. So this is the arm that I've got, underhook, and I do a lot of lockdown stuff, such like lockdown sweeps. So, I'm definitely, you made me think of it. I go, no, I really don't try to extend the arm too far, because if I extend it and they catch it and they bring it up and over, it's really painful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Not fun. And, just through time, I think just, and also I guess just experience, right? You start to understand, like, okay, I can't hang out too long inside of this. That's fascinating, man.
Yeah, man. I hope that I hope that I get better, but again, going back to, I want to last as long as possible, but I don't want to be off the mat. That's the hard part. We a lot of times don't get injuries looked at because we don't want to be off the mat. In our minds, like, shit, if I don't go for a couple of days, I come back almost feeling like, did I forget stuff? I know it's just in my mind and it's not real, but there is an element of like, man, I haven't trained in a couple of days. Am I going to be shitty today? Like, I feel like I'm going to be shitty today. My energy's there. My body hurts less, but there's this little element of like, man, I haven't drilled in a couple of days. I haven't done, am I going to move the same? Maybe I'm crazy and I'm the only one that happens to, but even just a short time off the mat, I'm like, oh, man,
yeah,
I can't believe it. Right? I feel like, everybody's going to be better than me. Even at black belt, you have that feeling like, oh God, I'm going to be, am I going to be good? That usually goes away as soon as you get on the mat, you start.
As soon as I touch somebody, I'm like, okay, I break someone's grip. Like, okay.
I don't even know if we said you're a purple belt, correct?
I am purple belt, yes.
Purple. How many years have you been at purple? How long have you been?
I've been a purple belt about a year and a half.
Okay. So I don't, time on the mats, things like that, you're looking at a brown in the next year or so.
We'll see. Right.
Don't worry, we're not asking for it. No.
I'm not asking for it, and I'm really not in a rush. Right.
Yeah.
And I think what has been super cool about this, me being a purple belt, is I know enough to get in and out of situations, but also, this is really exposed to me like a bunch of things that I don't know, because I'm trying new things. And, I think when I was a blue belt, especially the first half of my blue belt, I was very, like, I wanted to do my game. I didn't want to try new things, because anytime I tried new things, I would get smoked, and I wouldn't know what to do. Right. Now I'm at a phase where if I try something, I know that, okay, hey, I may get swept here, I may do this here, or, I may get caught here, but I would have, enough experience to be able to get myself in and out of situations, to be able to try things. But, the more and more I try things, I realize, oh man, I have, some gaps in the game when it comes to this. Also too, I think, because of this cross training, kind of process that I've been doing, I've been working through just very specific sequences of things, right? And okay, hey, what's the fastest path to the back here, and can I go from this side to this side? And hey, how do I maintain some ride time on the back, right? And be able to go here, just be able to work through those things. And the more I do that with different bodies, I start to realize, oh man, I'm not as proficient, or like, man, I got to get better. If I could do, because I could do this on a lower belt, or I could do this in somebody that is my size, but someone that's bigger, I can't, right? So I start to, it expose. I'm at a point where I'm beginning to expose like where the gaps are in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not in a rush of anything. I just love training, man.
Look at when you get a chance, when we get off. We just put out the first video from the Robbie D'Onofrio episode that we launched this week. And the title is Belts Are Good for Business. And the question, we were kind of talking about like the expectations at each belt. And he had an interesting answer, which if I remember exactly how he said it was, I said, once I got to purple, like I wasn't in such a rush to get to brown. And at brown, I was just like in zero rush to get to black, because like there's a certain level of responsibility or expectations that come with the belt sometimes. And, again, as an older player, it's just like all of a sudden, oh, you're a black belt. The younger guys are like, okay, I want it. Let me roll with him. I can say that I beat a black belt, right? So it's not a fear, but it was just like, I'm okay with waiting for that. I want to be the best I can possibly be and get that belt. But he was kind of saying, he kind of like, he was like, I realized that like when I got my purple belt, I rose to the occasion. I knew that, okay, I'm not a purple belt yet, so I don't necessarily have to do that thing, and I don't have to be as good, or I don't have to maybe push as hard. And as soon as you got the purple belt, he was just like, I was doing purple belt shit. Like last week I wasn't doing it. This week I was. I'm elaborating a little bit on his point, but like he rose to the occasion. He's like, I could do this. I could be a purple belt, right? He like rose to almost the expectations of it. He's like, I had it in me. It was there. The belt kind of held me back from doing it because, hey, I'm only a blue belt. I'm not supposed to be doing that. So he had an interesting look. It's probably the first time that I ever had somebody answer it like that, where, because we have talked about it a lot, where somebody is saying like, no, as soon as I got it, like I absolutely rose to that occasion, and I was like, it was in me the whole time, but I let it hold me back because in my mind, I'm not a purple belt yet. So watch that video and see how he explains it, and look at that for yourself. You kind of said the answer like I kind of said. It was just like, like I'm just a purple belt, right? I'm not worried about getting the brown, but you got brown belt shit in you. There is brown belt knowledge in you, and it doesn't change anything. And part of what I said, which we don't have in that video, what my reply to him was, the expectation. So like I've dealt with a lot of people, especially like my co-hosts on the show when we first started. I had 4 co-hosts and they were all lower belts. And every time a belt promotion was coming, it was just like, oh, I don't want that belt, or I don't want a stripe. Like I don't deserve it. I understand a belt promotion, right? And you get your blue and you got your purple. It wasn't here you are a purple belt and here is all the knowledge of purple belt. No, it's you are now going to start your purple belt journey, right? You know everything that at blue. You're done at blue, just like you graduate, where you move from 2nd grade to 3rd grade, right? You know everything at 2nd grade, and now you're going into 3rd grade, and day 1 at 3rd grade, you're not expected to know the entire curriculum, right? You're going to learn that curriculum, and you're going to graduate from 3rd grade or move on to 4th, right? And it's the same thing with belts, right? You're going to learn, you've learned everything you could at blue, and you got your purple. You're learning everything that you should know at purple, and you're going to get your brown. So I think in those cases, a lot of times those guys put that expectation. I'm like, oh, I get it. You get a brown belt and tie it around your waist. And let's say you go to a competition, right? You could be up against a brown belt that's been doing it for 2 years and has 4 stripes, right? Yeah, he's graduating from brown belt. He's about to graduate from brown belt. So I get that part. So I think they let the expectations of the belt know, well, you're a brand new brown belt. Don't worry. You're going to learn everything you need to know at brown. And one day you're going to graduate from this and go to the next. And when you get your black, you don't know everything at black. I truly understand now, getting my black belt in December, about like that whole, like, now the journey starts. I mean, I'm absolutely picking up things, and, coaches are teaching us things that we hadn't learned before. We have like Friday, Saturday is like more advanced. It's just the advanced guys at my school. And it's they're no-gi days, and they're advanced moves that they don't teach in the regular classes. So I love those days. Hopefully I'll get there tonight, but I went the last 2 days and got banged up last night, so I might miss tonight, but I'll train in the morning. And I love those, like, filling in the gaps. And it's a smaller class, so literally, going from 20, 30 people on the mat to less than 10. And getting the coach, the coach walking over to you and moving your foot, or saying, no, hold on, wait, stop. Here, let me show you. Like, that is what I'm getting now. and it feels really good. And I really love those days. So it's just kind of like it's still jiu-jitsu. I still go to the regular classes with the guys that I'm still doing the basics, and I believe in those basics, but having these advanced things filling in the gaps, I think is nice. So, I definitely respect what you're doing. Like, going to different schools. I preach it. I don't do it a lot. I haven't traveled a lot for jiu-jitsu. I don't train outside of my school a ton. I have done some privates. I didn't even tell anybody. Me and another student were doing like leg lock privates at my house. Nice. So we had a friend of ours come in and really like a leg lock, I don't say specialist, but definitely much more knowledge than we had. Because my school didn't do a lot of we're mostly gi, so we weren't doing all that fancy no gi leg lock stuff. So we had somebody coming in. So I do believe in supplementing your knowledge. I didn't share it with everybody because I didn't want my school to be like, "What are you doing? Don't leg lock. What are you doing?" So. But, I do believe in that, and hats off to you for realizing that and traveling back and forth. And it's good, when you're doing a certain, type of jiu-jitsu, or you're doing your typical jiu-jitsu moves with the same people in your school all the time, to go out and try those same things with somebody else and be like, oh shit, this doesn't work. Like, all the weaknesses of your training partners, or what you can get away with, or what they know. And, you know what you know, and you kind of know what they know. And what you can get away with certain people and what their strengths are. So let me not do this or get into this position. So going to another school like Combat Base, and then being with a bunch of guys that you don't know all of their moves all of the time, like you're not training with them every day, I think that's a good look. And in the beginning of my journey, I used to do an open mat with another school. My school did an open mat where we went to them every other Saturday, and then they came to us every other Saturday. So it was like always this group of guys. We didn't train together all week, but on the weekends, now we're trying out our shit on each other, and like the shit that worked in school did not work with in the open mats. So it's a good look, and I definitely recommend that to people. This whole creonch thing that people used to have, you can't travel to schools, like that is so gone now, that it's like, yeah, you better cross train, and you need to, show, especially if you want to compete and you're doing tournaments, you've got to train with other people. It's key.
Yeah, for sure. I think I have another place I go to, Mythic. Jeff Nolasco, he's a black belt under Mauricio Chinguina, which, we're pretty tight with that Chinguina lineage as well. But Jeff, who he and I have known each other for some time, and he's a guy who's my size. And I'll periodically go over to his academy and do privates with him. And again, I think it's just, even if it's periodically, right? Yeah. Being able to go out and do a once a month with somebody else, whether it's a private or go jump into a class or jump into an open mat. I think just anytime you can get some additional perspective is always good. And what's interesting is like hearing you, just this conversation is making me think of, do you know who Urban Meyer is?
Urban Meyer, doesn't sound familiar.
So he's not a jiu-jitsu guy, he's a football guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So Urban Meyer, he's a...
if they don't do jiu-jitsu or MMA, I probably won't know their name.
All good. Yeah, so he's a famous football coach. I don't want to kind of get too lost in that, but he wrote a book called Above the Line, and it was one of the books that really registered with me. And there was really a concept in there where he talked about mental reps, practice reps, and game time reps. And a lot of this conversation, you had talked about, hey, I'm not the guy who could sit and buy a big instructional, but I process information, in, whatever 1 minute versions, right? That's easy for me to be able to understand. And some people are the opposite, right? They can gather, instructional. Some people, like, I just like watching jiu-jitsu because, one, it's entertainment, right? But going on to Flow Grappling and just watching whatever Mika Galvao event, or, compete, like just watching that to me is very interesting. Yeah. So, that would be really considered this mental rep. And then whether you're going to a private or, hey, we're going to have an advanced class and it's just a smaller group of more experienced guys, and we're going to drill and get into the nuance and detail around our foot placement or our grip or whatever the case is, that's going to be the practice rep. And the game time rep is just, hey, when we go live inside class, or if you're a competitor and you're going to go to competition, that's where the actual game time rep is. And, someone that is really looking to be able to get and maximize their skill set, you got to be able to have all of those three components, right? You got to have the mental, you got to have the practice, and then the actual game time.
Sure.
And
makes a lot of sense.
it's a very unique kind of package. So anyways, as we're talking through all this, I'm like that the Urban Meyer thing was just kind of resonating.
I got to go to jiu-jitsu tonight now. I'm not going to miss tonight now. And
I'm sit down and watch. Even if you go sit down and watch, at least I'm getting the mental rep of what's happening.
So listen, we went a little longer than I expected, so we're not going to do our full drill down, but I do want to ask you our most important question. Do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
I wash it.
Every time? Every session?
100% of the time.
Yeah. So I always did up to black. I have not washed my black belt yet. And
You're kidding me.
I have not washed it, but I spray it with either Neutral Zone. They were an old sponsor of us. I think we got that's Neutral Zone Clean right down here at the bottom. Or I spray it with Lysol and then I hang it. I'm waiting for my embroidered belt from Flow and Roll. And once I get that, I'm like, okay, then I'll wash my other one. I've said this a million times on the show, but for your benefit, I want it to, right now, I want it to fade because of the training. And I want it to last as long as possible. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, the black belt is like one of I'm old enough that I'm probably not going to see coral or any other colored belts after this. So I really want this one to really last as long as possible. I've always had 2 belts at every rank. So I think maybe other than white, but every blue through brown, I had 2 belts. So I just didn't care. I throw one in the wash. Oh, that one's wet. Take this one, go to the gym. So I didn't care. And it became a joke about the belt washing. One of my old co-hosts used to get on me. He'd be like, that's horrible. That's miserable. You're washing away all your knowledge. Like he would really like dig into the old, bullshit about, the sweat and blood of your training partners is feeding. Like, it's like, what's the guy with the hair? What's the, you cut.
I know exactly
who is that? I forget.
Guy.
Yeah. No, well, no. What's the old biblical story about the guy with the
Samson.
hair? Samson, right? He cut his hair, right? As the power was in the hair. That stuff is bullshit to me. So, but this is the first time I haven't washed it, and part of that too is just I've actually normally I would throw my gi. We only wear white, so I throw my gi in the wash, and I didn't want the black to fade onto my gi either. So I'm like, I'll just hold it and throw it in with my darks, and then I just never did it. And I'm like, let me just leave it. I'll spray it, and I've just started to do that. So normally, but every other belt, I've just always thrown in the wash, and that's it. So I'm a belt washer, but now I've become. I did get that tip from other people, like, hey, just spray it with Lysol, no big deal. But I will wash it. I'm not gonna never wash it. But hey, Flo and Roll, Sean, you're supposed to get me my embroidered belt. So when I get that, I'll wash my other one. So let me leave it here. Do you have anybody that you want to shout out? I don't know if you want to. I'll give you a second to say hello to anybody that you want to shout out.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple of quick things. Home team, TKJJ. Thomas Kenny has been an instrumental part of my jiu-jitsu journey, right? Him and Mauricio Chinguina. Both of those have been probably the most influential people inside of the jiu-jitsu journey, if you will. Of course, obviously, combat base, right? Melissa and Chris were building a great relationship here as of, probably the past year or so. And again, they just build an awesome environment and a place for people to learn and grow in their jiu-jitsu journey, I think is a critical piece. Other than that, the BizJitsu.
Give them the handle. What's the handle on Instagram?
It's BizJitsu. Sorry, you stumped me. I should know this. Right? It's at BizJitsu_podcast. BizJitsu_podcast.
Unlock the power of your online presence with Black Belt Digital Marketing. Their reputation management program ensures your Google business profile seen by more potential customers. Black Belt Digital Marketing is your full-service digital marketing agency specializing in local SEO and reputation management. Boost your business today. Visit bbdigitalmarketing.com. Your success is their priority.
Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
Yeah, definitely check out the podcast, everybody. And I did an episode with you before you came on, so you can check that out. What's up?
It obviously performed really well.
Oh, obviously, you know. So yeah, listen, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Let me throw a quick shout out to our friends over at Combat CBD. You can check them out at Combat CBDs with an S, combatcbds.com. I take these every single night. Not only are they delicious, they actually help me sleep really well. So that's something that I always have a problem with. So check these guys out. And you can check them out on Instagram. I believe it's just Combat CBD, if I'm not mistaken. You can check us out at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. My personal IG is Uncle Milty BJJ. I get a lot fewer messages there, so if you want to reach out to me, you want to communicate, that's probably the better one to go to. But thank you for watching and listening, everybody. Don't hang up. Vince, we're going to take a picture here, a couple of pictures for some promo stuff. And but thank you for watching and listening, everybody. Peace, love, jiu-jitsu. Us.